Okay. I thought I could put it on and off.
What did yours rub off on under there?
Yeah, almost. Okay, I'd like to start the meeting in a few minutes, please. What's that? Okay, thank you. I'd like to start the meeting, Town of Coventry Planning Commission meeting, Wednesday, August 28th, 2024, and it's 6:34. Determination of quorum. Mr. Kinney,
Here.
Mr. Smith,
Here.
Mr. Reyes.
Here.
Mr. Burke is excused tonight. Mr. Price.
Here.
Mr. Studley. Secretary Anderson.
Here.
Vice Chair Colunian.
Here.
Chairman Flynn is here. We have a quorum of 8. Emergency evacuation plan, the doors you came in, you can exit to the left and to the right. Please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic which stands one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. I have one announcement tonight. I'd like to introduce John Studley as our newest commissioner. Thank you, John. Approval of minutes, July 24, 2024. Do I have a motion?
I'll make a motion to approve the minutes.
I have a motion by Mr. Kinney. Do I have a second?
I'll second it.
I have a second by Mr. Smith. Any discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor? Aye. Motion carries. Okay, we have a number 6 bond setting. 6.1 Willow Lakes, owner applicant, LRT, New London Avenue Development, LLC. Preliminary plan of approval, 202 unit, major land development, comprehensive permit. AP 16 Lot 3, Zone R20 residential, address New London Turnpike. And the bond amount, if it's okay with the staff, the applicant is fine with the bond amount.
The applicant agrees.
We have a bond amount of $153,030, and we have an inspection fee of $3,060.60. We'll need a motion for each one of those, please.
Mr. Chairman, I'll make a motion to set the phase 1 bond amount at $153,030. And I'll make another motion for the inspection fee, 2% of the original total estimate, $3,060.60.
I have a motion by Mr. Kinney. I have a second. Second by Mr. Smith. Any discussion?
Those combined motion, you ask for each one, I think each one has to be voted on.
Okay. So we'll do the bond amount first.
That's fine.
So could I have a motion on just the bond amount, Mr. Kenny?
Okay, I'd like to make a motion on the phase 1 bond amount for $153,030.
I have a motion and a second. All those in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Hearing none, motion carries. Yeah, I'll take the second motion on the inspection fee.
I'd like to make a motion on setting the inspection fee, 2% of the original total estimated cost at $3,060.60.
Thank you. I have a motion from Mr. Kenny, second by Mr. Smith. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none, motion carries. Okay, 8.1, I have an informational meeting. Proposed commercial contractor units, pre-application, major land development, owner applicant, Andrew Barber, AP 10, Lot 42, Zone General Business, 72 Hockney Hill Road. Applicant proposes to develop 1 commercial office building and 2 equipment storage buildings of contractor use with development. The first building will be 8,000 square feet. The second phase will be 2 buildings at 6,000 square feet. Is there anybody here representing the applicant? Come on up, sir. Name and address, please.
Andrew Barber, 249 Station Street.
So you could just give a brief summary of either one, if
Hello,
Just
my
name and
name is-
address,
My
please.
name is Douglas Allen. I work for Crossman Engineering, 151 Centerville Road in Warwick, Rhode Island. Currently a professional engineer in the state of Rhode Island. I'd like to give a brief background on the project. The site is located at 71 Hockney Hill Road in Coventry and is identified as Lot 42, Plat 10. The site is approximately 2.2 acres in size and has frontage on both Hockney Hill Road and Nooseneck Hill Road. There are currently no buildings or improvements on the lot, and recent clearing of trees and brush has been completed. There's no trees that are over 50 years old. Currently, there's little grade change on this lot. Stormwater runoff remains on the site in the lower elevation areas before it drains in a southwesterly direction off the site. The areas within the Maple Root Pond watershed, and according to RIDEM Environmental Resource Map, the property is not situated within 200 feet of a wetlands, it's not within a flood zone, and not within a wellhead protection area. The lot is not listed on the National Register of Historic Places. Proposed improvements include an 8,000 square foot building for phase one. This is all phase one, sorry. 30 parking spaces, 9 that will be on paved surfaces, 21 unpaved. A loading space, dumpster area, a 26-foot wide primary driveway from Nooseneck Hill Road, 24-foot wide secondary driveway from Hockney Hill Road, and landscape trees proposed along the frontage of the road. The phase two is anticipated to include 2 6,000 square foot buildings, potentially 40 inside parking spaces, none on the outside, a loading space, a dumpster area, a 24-foot wide driveway from Hockney Hill Road. And it will also have access to phase one with a gate. And landscape trees will be proposed along the frontage. The site will be serviced by Kent County Water Authority for water. The sewer will be via septic systems. Electric and gas services will be provided by RI Energy. The drainage will incorporate stormwater management system, handle all runoff from new structures and impervious surfaces. All RIDEM stormwater guidelines will be followed. The proposed impervious coverage is 21%, which is less than the 60% permitted. Currently, the permitting that will be required for the site includes from RIDEM construction permit, a stormwater permit, and an OWTS permit. And we will also need a RIDOT PAP permit for the connection to Nooseneck Hill Road. Phase one is anticipated to be a commercial office and storage, and phase two will be a commercial storage, garage storage facility at this time. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Anybody on the board have any questions for the applicant? Mr. Smith, go ahead.
So, Mr. Barber, I've taken a look at everything and I've seen the machine over there on site, a little bit of work that's been done. I know at some point you're gonna provide us with some renditions of the buildings, what they're gonna look like. An issue that has recently been questioned of me is your neighbor's building, the new building there, the color. And when you do a building, personally, I'd like to see it another color other than white.
Yeah,
Maybe a
so I
tan
have-
or a
I
brown.
actually have all the drawings, so that we're just still in the stages here. I haven't submitted everything to the engineers yet with that, but I do have a steel building. It's got a 3-foot crash wall with all culture stone, and then it's a slate blue with white trim, white doors. It's, I do have all the, for the first building with the windows on the office side.
Yeah.
And open door,
Okay, just something that blends in with the environment, so it's better for the neighbors and better for the environment,
Yeah.
easier on the eyes for everybody.
So other than white is what you're looking for.
Yes,
It's easy.
yes.
Yeah,
Some,
white.
something else, like to know what it is ahead of time.
Yep.
All
Yeah,
right,
I can actually have it probably drawn up in color for you.
sounds good. Thank you, Mr. Flynn.
You're welcome. Anybody else? Rick, go ahead.
What's the crushed stone pad for? Is that permanent? or-
That's just so I can keep trailers and I got track equipment so it doesn't tear up the asphalt, so I can just leave the equipment in the backside. Is that where, behind the garage, you mean where there's this area?
Yeah, do you
Yeah,
plan
no,
on,
it's more just, it's just storage area for equipment.
so
The 8,000 square foot building, do you know what's going in there?
Yeah, I got box trucks and oil trucks.
Okay, so this is kind of the same operation that's over
I'm
on
just
Station
moving
Street?
Yeah, I want to move over here from Station Street because I need the extra room for my equipment. I have it spread out through 3 different areas there,
Okay,
so I'd like to put it
okay.
all in one spot.
All right. And your engineer indicated you needed a PAPA from right up on Newsnack Hill Road. You're also gonna need one for the 2 entrances of Hockney Hill. That's also a State Route 118. I
Yeah.
just want to make sure you know
Yeah,
that.
yeah. And we're
Okay.
still in revision on that. We might just change that to one on the Hockney Hill side too. We're just still in design on that. Might have a little revisions later on.
So, other than that, do you foresee, any linkage between the two? I see the crash gate. I'm just trying to make sure that if folks might be able to use both points of access.
So that's where I'm at right now, whether I want to have the crash gate there, but to do the crash gate, I may lose a few parking spots for employees or if I do the single cut and then we have a side and we change the building design a little bit where we have one entryway and we come around. But most likely it'll end up being a cut through or an opening with a crash gate in it.
Who suggested the crash gate? Was that you or the fire department?
It was
I-
TLC.
yeah,
They did a
Oh,
TLC
okay.
review and comments.
Okay, I apologize. I
Hey,
didn't-
if you don't
I
want it,
didn't
I'll keep it.
thoroughly examine that report. Okay.
I think it was for circulation of fire equipment.
Yeah.
Which makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, well, I was wondering why it wasn't, you couldn't just leave it open all the time.
Well, I also like to have an area where I can gate the equipment in the back, so just for, trespassing and
Yeah.
storage too. So
Yeah.
with the crash gate and then the gate on the back side of the building to that area.
Yeah, I got
I
it.
can keep the whole back area fenced in.
I got it. I got it. And what are your thoughts? I mean, I'm just looking at a plan. I can't really gauge it, but the 6,000 square foot buildings and the proximity to
That
Hockney
was,
Hill Road, the setbacks seem a little, I can't really tell from the plan how far back they are, but they,
I thought they were 40 and 10.
It's 10, it's right on. The one on the left's very close to the setback line, but it is beyond, and they're both beyond the setbacks.
yeah, yeah, okay. I
I think
probably
there's a
should.
table on. right.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I know we just got this plan tonight and the other one was a little difficult to read, so I was trying to see what the setback line actually is in that. Is it
10.
It's a 10.
10
40.
feet? Yeah. Okay. You put, will there be anything along the, within the setback area, like landscaping or anything like that? But
Yeah, we'll have all the landscape.
I know it's a little early, but I just wanted to point out that, that's a heavily traveled road, Hockney Hill Road, and
Yeah.
I just want to make sure that what they look at when they go by is somewhat aesthetically pleasing. I know there's Dollar General next door. I'm not quite familiar with what they have on the side of their building, but as
Yeah.
long as it blends in.
Yeah, no, I'll dress it
Okay,
up.
so you're basically here for, just to introduce us to the project, which right now, and kind of nail down the size of the buildings.
Correct.
Okay, thanks.
So I had a couple of things, quickly. I think the neighbors in the back road, maybe noise would be one of their issues. And, buffering, time of operation and lighting.
Yeah, so, and what'd you say, lighting?
Lighting.
Yeah. So, buffering, I mean, we would probably just do like the big arborvitaes.
Yeah,
let them
green
do it,
giants.
Buffering with the arborvitaes. As far as lighting, I would probably just have the lighting on the doors in the building, just on the rear corners but they wouldn't be facing neighboring property. They'd be facing towards the building. Just to oversee for camera lightage and just at night.
Okay. So I know that'll come up, so I just wanted to put
Yeah.
it out there.
Yeah.
Anybody else on the board?
And hours of operation are usually, 7 to 4, and then, we do run a 24-hour emergency, so we might have to
Yeah.
come in throughout the night and grab a truck, but other than that, we don't operate other than 7 to 4.
Yeah, I didn't think it would change from your
Yeah,
other
from where-
location. Thank you.
I just have one comment. You might want to look at identifying a place, a snow push.
Mhm.
And that's usually something that people always
Yeah.
space out.
Yeah, we keep
so
it all on site, yeah. I can see
Yeah.
We have plenty of area for that.
that's it.
Mr. Price?
I would just like to kind of reiterate a few things I've heard already. One lot, it seems kind of a lot to have 3 entrances to one lot on 2 very busy roadways. It could end up congesting the roadways more than and increase accidents along the roadway.
So the reason for the two on Hockney Hill, one's for the separation of the buildings, but the other one was so exiting with oil trucks and the big equipment onto Hockney Hill, which is a low traveled road, gives us access to the red light. So these guys aren't trying to cross 2 lanes of traffic with trailers and oil trucks to go, across into oncoming to which is a more heavily traveled road. So I
Yep.
thought it would be an easier access for them to
And-
leave with red light access to
Yeah,
make it
and I-
safer for the drivers.
And I don't want to speak anything about the state, but I think there's only right-hand turn out of the Dollar General. So I would assume
Is
they
it?
might make the
Oh,
same. But it seems like you've addressed the aesthetics of the buildings, the buffering. I heard Doug say about the plants all around the building. Downlighting, make sure you're not lighting up the whole area at night. I'd just like to stress again that Hockney Hill is still a pretty busy road, and especially in the morning and the afternoon.
Mhm.
The traffic backs up pretty far down the road, so. Thank you.
Thanks, John. Anybody else? Go ahead. Get to you, John.
So you have the TRC, you're ready from the comments and suggestions, right? So one, and maybe I missed it, I'm sorry. The 8 bays that you're gonna have in the back with the overhead doors, we're looking at 7 parking spaces for that. What are you planning on? What are you planning on? Business like this, landscapers?
Yeah,
Retailers, I don't.
Yeah, so some of it could be usage for like the extra storage of my own trucks, but then, we were gonna possibly use some for, if some rentals bays, like the 20 by 60 bay or something for rental per unit. Parking, we were gonna keep it to a minimum on who rents the areas, like no businesses are gonna be working out of it. It'll be more just for storage for people who are in and out. A landscaper could put equipment in there, or, I haven't, totally put it up per se, not to use it for myself yet.
Oh, okay. Because if you do rent those out, I mean,
Yeah.
7 spaces to accommodate. If that's going to be the hub for a landscaping crew,
Yeah.
5 different cars for 3 different bays, you're gonna have to do something.
Again, with the parking on that, for five spots per bay, I was probably gonna put in for a request of like, downsizing on some of that parking later on, because I don't know, with parking inside, I was gonna keep it as limited access to the outside parking to begin with, just to leave opening.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, just be cognizant of it because it'd just be way too congested for the trucks you're talking
yeah.
about.
So
Yeah.
that's depend, I haven't, that was a phase 2 just to have on the plans versus getting phase 1 done so I can get myself in there. And that was just another option if I wanted to have the buildings, if I needed more space for myself. So we're just, that's a later on down the line. That won't be going on with phase 1 project.
Mr. Studley?
Excuse me if it's already been addressed somewhere, but was it a clerical error? On the original plan that we had, it looked like there were supposed to be overhead doors on either side of each 6,000 square foot building.
No, it's only on the front sides.
Okay, all right, so that's been corrected with the new plan. All right, I just wanted to clarify that. Other than that, I'll just reiterate some of the things that the other members have said. With the lighting, obviously, we do have competing uses in this area, namely with the residential uses down the way, and then potential residential uses in the area in the future. So lighting's a big one as far as zoning compliance. Should there be any potential glare, that's something that we're going to want to see that is addressed at the next meeting. And then again, this is in a prominent location, so certainly we're going to want to know more details on the landscaping.
Yep.
So.
Typically, lighting is dark sky compliant. Most lighting site.
Well said, John. Anybody else? Okay, I normally don't take public comment on a pre-app, but if anybody has some quick comments to come up for this project, it's not a public hearing, but is there anybody in the room that would like to have anything to say on this project? Anybody on Zoom, Cody? put your hand up. Okay, seeing none. Anybody on the board have any further questions? Oh. Yes. Nancy, come on in.
I just wanted to say I didn't have any comments because I only saw this last PDF that you're showing, so I apologize. But no comments at this point.
All right, thank you. Anybody else, Cody? Okay, I think we're good. Thank you. See you at master plan. Okay, next we have a public hearing, Center of New England. Master Plan Major Land Development with associated dimensional variance. Owners Matthew J. McGovern and receiver for Commerce Park Properties LLC, Commerce Park Associates 4 LLC, Catapult Realty LLC, applicant Star Capital LLC, AP 13 Lot 14 and AP 14 Lots 1 and 65 portions of AP 14 Lot 1.2 and AP 15 Lot 98 Zone Business Park. Roads adjacent to this and running through it are Arnold Road, Angelina Drive, Stephanie Drive, Center of New England Boulevard. Applicant proposes to develop 362 dwelling units in a duplex-style building, as well as 350 dwelling units in a multifamily building for a total of 712 units. The proposal includes associated utilities, infrastructure. This applicant requires a dimensional variance for parking requirements and will be heard via Unified Development Review.
Good evening.
Just one announcement. I know the applicant is aware. I just want to tell the audience that we have the traffic report came in very late today.
Yes.
So we will not be voting on this tonight, but it still is a public hearing and everybody will be able to come up and say what they need to say. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. For the record, my name is Kelly Morris Salvatore. I practice with Darrow Everett in Providence, Rhode Island. I'm here representing Star Capital, who's the applicant. As you suggested, the owner is Matthew McGowan, who is a court-appointed receiver who's essentially handling all of the Center of New England properties. With me tonight, I have Tim Eden, who's principal of Star Capital. You have met him once before, as well as Nicole Riley, who's a professional engineer. She's our site civil engineer, and she'll be addressing you tonight, as well as Paul Bannon, who is also a professional engineer. He's had a lot of experience with Center of New England, and he is our traffic site engineer. As you know, we've met with you a couple of times on a pre-app similar to the previous applicant. That was advertised in the newspaper, but tonight is a public hearing, so we do expect to hear some feedback from residents. And we appreciate those comments so that when we come back, which we expect to in September, hopefully we could address some of the comments then. So I just wanted to outline what we're talking about first before we get into anything. So where Nicole is standing, I don't think pointers work on those screens. So we're just gonna point lots 2, 3, and 4 are what we're talking about. There's no other applications or phases before you. Right below lot 4 is lot 5, which is also proposed to be owned by Star Capital. And there's a little access that will be used to connect 4 to 3. So just as an overview. First, I'd like to introduce Mr. Eden. He's just going to say a few words about himself and his company. Thank you.
Yeah, hi, it's Tim Eden with Star Capital. Thank you, Kelly. And thanks to everyone who's worked diligently over the past 4 months to get us to this point. You probably noticed the bridge construction that has started on C&E Boulevard that will have a big impact on the community. This is the beginning of a difficult process to secure the necessary permits and start construction. This is a home building project at a time when housing is needed. We're motivated to get started in 2025. It's worth restating that these are properties are former sand and gravel operations that will require significant cleanup. We thank you for your support in working through those details, especially with DEM. With that, I'll turn it back over to Kelly to kick us off. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. So just a little bit of an introduction before I bring up the professionals. So as I said, Star Capital is under agreement to purchase 7 of the remaining lots, but tonight we're here for those that we've just identified. It's about 82 acres that's being proposed for development at this time. So for lots 2 and 3 that Nicole just pointed out, we are proposing 362 duplex style residential units. And that works out to about 6.2 units per acre. We're also developing lot 4 as an apartment style residential development. And that works out, the 350 units work out to about 14.8 units per acre. As we discussed at the last meeting, although the town ordinances don't require it, the state law doesn't require it, we're not here for a comprehensive permit. We understand that the town is cognizant of this 10% goal that you have to have by state mandate. So you've asked us to provide some low and moderate income housing, and we're happy to do that. So what we'd like to do is propose 10% of the units, of the total number of units for these 3 lots, to keep you at status quo at that 10%. And then we want to give you a little bit of a bump towards your 10%, and that's another 5. So for a total of 15% low and moderate income housing units. Now, having said that, there is a court order that was approved by your prior town leaders that says we cannot even apply for low and moderate income housing. So we do have to work with the receiver and ask the court to remove that condition. So, you know, I would ask that with an approval, you make a condition, you know, if it's approved by the court, then we will supply you with those 15% low and moderate income housing units. With regard to traffic and landscaping, we are only at master plan stage, and a lot of what I'm saying is kind of for the benefit of the audience. So typically, as you know, we're not really getting involved in heavy traffic or landscaping, but you've asked us to provide you with some information so that you can make a good decision. So we have provided you with a traffic study at this point, and also you have engaged a peer reviewer. So someone that we pay for, but he is engaged by the town, who will be looking at the traffic for your benefit to make sure that we did our job right. So Mr. Bannon is here tonight to give you an overview of traffic issues, and then he will work with the peer reviewer, and the peer reviewer will report to you as to what modifications might be suggested. We also expect to be working with staff over the next couple of weeks to make sure that not just the peer reviewer, but all of your technical staff understands and supports the traffic issues and any modifications that need to be done. Same thing with landscaping. Typically at master plan, we don't provide a landscaping plan because we don't know the exact design of the site. But what you've asked and what the staff has asked is that we kind of provide you with a general, very high level landscaping map that's going to show where we're going to pay a lot of attention to landscaping. Mr. Carter, who is a professional landscape architect, is not with us tonight, but again, we will be back in September where he can answer any questions regarding landscaping. Finally, Joe Lombardo, who you've probably heard from before. He's a land use consultant and a fiscal impact consultant. So he prepared a fiscal impact, again, something that's not really required during a land development project, but something that we think is important for you to know. That impact study that you have addresses how many school-age children, what the expenses are to the town, and how much in the end the town is going to make on this development in taxes. And it is a positive, but I'm going to wait again till September so that Mr. Lombardo can go through that with you and you can answer, he can answer any questions. Regarding waivers. So tonight, we are asking for waivers from checklist requirements. So in your checklist, it requires a soil erosion and sediment control plan, a grading plan, and a utility plan, all of which, and I think your staff agrees, are typically required at preliminary plan, not at master plan. it's virtually impossible for us to provide those items at this stage. So tonight, we're asking that those items be waived until preliminary plan. On the project waivers that we're going to be asking for on the whole project, we have not yet determined exactly what we're going to be asking for, but in all likelihood, one will be for the width of the interior streets that I consider driveways because they're private. So we'll continue to have conversations with staff about that. But if we need a waiver, we're going to ask for that for the full project. And also for specifications for construction of certain required improvements, including sidewalks. We are trying to mimic what is already at Highland condominiums. So we're going to further look at that, and when we come to preliminary plan, that's when we're going to ask for those waivers. The one variance that we know about is for parking, which we discussed at our last meeting. Only for Lot 4, so the multifamily development, which will include about 30% studios, 30% one bedrooms, and 30% two bedrooms. We don't think your requirement of 2 spaces per unit is necessary. That 2 spaces per unit is required for any size dwelling unit, whether it's a 3 or a 4 bedroom or a studio. So we will present evidence that shows that we don't believe that the 2 is required. We certainly don't want to have a sea of asphalt, as we talk about, and we want to provide an adequate amount of parking for tenants. So with that, that's my introduction. I'd like to have Nicole Riley come up and just talk generally about the site and the design and where we're headed. Okay, thanks.
Good evening. My name is Nicole Riley, R-E-I-L-L-Y. I'm a registered professional engineer at Dupreet Engineering, 2 Stafford Court, Cranston. Thank you for having us.
Thank you.
We've worked diligently with staff and of course, members of the council commission, and we're trying our best to address all the items that we're learning through the past, I'll say 20 plus years of history on the project. In addition to what we're learning recently for, the development and receivership relationship. And I have to say, it's been a welcoming environment. I think we can produce a good product with everyone in this room. With that being said, I have an engineering faux pas here. I have trouble pointing and seeing. There's probably no way to put a microphone near a screen. Is that correct? This one? If it's going to cause an issue, I figured I'd ask. It's easier, I think, for the audience to have me point to the screen. Every room's set up different. Yeah, I can be Vanna White. I'm going to hold it right. See. Can you guys hear me? From
Yes.
this? I'll try to, I don't know which way to stand here.
No, that's all right for the audience, because we can't see that anyway.
So as Kelly mentioned, we have 3 parcels for consideration this evening. Just to refresh everyone, what we're referring to as parcel 2, parcel 3, and parcel 4. Parcel 2 and 3 have a lot of topography on them. As Tim had mentioned, there's a history of gravel usage. If you actually drive out there, topography or elevations go up and down, and there's pockets of wide open gravel, and then there's pockets of, I'll say, dense brush. You can tell both 2 and 3 have a long history of not being natural vegetation. For 4, same thing has occurred. 4 happens to be situated right on Arnold Road. There's a lot of topography or elevation change across it, which during our proposed development, we'll consider as far as the wetlands adjacent and obviously the neighbors to the north. And again, just to familiarize everyone, this is the center of New England Boulevard here. So everything we're talking about, we're on the north side today. Could staff go to sheet 6 of our plan set for proposed if possible? Thank you. So just to reacclimate everyone, this is aligned the same way as the last layout. We have parcel 2 here, parcel 3 here, and parcel 4. So parcel 2 and 3, as Tim and Kelly have mentioned, are a series of duplexes proposed. This nice big open green space exists today. We're not touching it in any manner as part of this. If anything, we'll improve it possibly with some walking trails for the enjoyment of the neighbors. Over here is Stephanie, we have Dante. And then as we go to this direction here along Hill Road, we have the proposed apartment buildings, as Kelly had mentioned. So the parking variance that Kelly had mentioned applies only to this parcel. We're seeking a small reduction in parking proposed here. We're not seeking any parking reduction in parcels 2 and 3. On one of the schematics at the plan set, we had a blow up of the duplex units showing that we do need adequate parking for all of the duplex units in access into the duplexes. So the last time we were here, there was a discussion of access into parcels 2 and 3. I think Mr. Clooney had mentioned it. And we are proposing at this point still having 3 connections into 2 and 3. We have Stephanie here, Angelina, and then what we're referring to is the wetland crossover that's currently to be under construction shortly. For parcel 4, switching gears over here, we do have an access proposed off of Arnold Road and potentially a connection between them here. As far as, just want to switch.
What's that, please, Phoebe? No, you can do your whole presentation.
So I know that there's been some discussion on water and sewer, and we have met with, or we have spoken to Kent County Water Authority, and we have met with the sewer subcommittee, specifically for parcels 2 and 3. We're only at master plan. We do have a long road ahead of us, but we feel comfortable with the feedback we've received to date for both water and sewer. We do have water modeling to consider for the proposed uses here. And for sanitary sewer, it seems that there's adequate capacity at this point for what we're proposing, but we will continue to work with the town. As Kelly had mentioned, when we're back for preliminary, once the site's engineered, we'll have more data on that. Sure. I don't know if they have that as a PDF. It would be a separate. I can talk on the sheet we were just on. If you want to pull 6 back up, I can, if that's okay with Kelly. So the landscape plan that was provided, it was a separate sheet, so it wasn't part of this plan set. It was prepared by John Carter, as Kelly had mentioned. It showed basically a lot more green. This is an engineered version of what we're looking to do out here. So not the green of the wetlands, but actually the green of each site development. So for instance, parcel 4, what John Carter will do is work with Tim Eden and his team and the town, of course, and try to make sure that where buffers are required or desired, not only are they nicely done, but they, have screening effects. A lot of deer proofing type species are important in this type of environment as well. I'm sure a lot of our yards have gotten munched on through the years. But John will basically work with the town and the team to select what type of buffers, what the goal is, whether it's a height thing, a sound thing, a vision thing, and he'll work on the entrances and also screening. From an engineering perspective, we also work with John's office on trying to put together buffers for the wetlands. We want to make sure that the wetland critters that are out there today have additional protection once development goes through, and we can probably even advance some of the wetlands are providing additional buffer plantings. And the same thing would be for parking. So his plan is a lot cleaner, but essentially it's really just focusing on what needs to be buffered, what type of vegetation gets selected, and what the purpose is.
How's the board feel on that? You want to have the whole presentation first, like we normally do? Yeah, do the whole presentation. You said you were gonna mimic the Highlands, and their landscaping is beautiful, so I would be happy with that. You said you were gonna mimic the Highlands. Their landscaping second to none, in my opinion.
So that's kind of what I said, but certainly we'll also be looking at it landscape.
Thank you. We can, but we normally don't. I mean, we know that Mr. Bannon's an expert. We're gonna peer review everything anyway, so you know that, but certainly Mr. Bannon's been around for many years. Sorry. I didn't mean it that way.
Call him old.
I have too.
And through the
Name and
chair,
address, Paul.
I just want to make a brief announcement. We did receive a full traffic study developed by Mr. Bannon yesterday. That traffic study, for the record, has not been added to the website yet. It has not been subject to a staff review, and we have not submitted it for your review. We do anticipate reviewing that at a staff level over the coming weeks, and we anticipate having some feedback for you with our peer review as well for the September meeting. But we're certainly happy to entertain an initial introductory conversation from Mr. Bannon tonight.
Thank you.
Mike.
Senior Project Director, the Transportation Group at Crossman Engineering in Warwick. Good evening. For tonight, as was indicated, I won't get too detailed into our study. We want to give you the opportunity to review it, develop some questions as we move forward, your peer reviewer to review it for next month's meeting, and we can go through it in detail, back and forth, and answer questions. So we make sure we answer all your questions. You know what questions to ask. What I'd like to do tonight is go over what we did as part of our study, and also give you some background on the overall site, 430 plus acres that has been developed over the years. And yes, I will get into my age because I was part of that initial development.
Me too.
Is part of our recent study. We worked with Deprete Engineering to review the site plans to ensure that safe and adequate access was being provided to each of the components of the development. We conducted numerous site visits various times of the day, days of the week, to observe traffic conditions. We inventoried the project area for land use, roadway geometry, horizontal, vertical features, site distances. We completed a traffic counting program, including automatic 7-day automatic traffic report counts on Hopkins Hill Road, Arnold's Road. We also completed manual turning movement counts for peak hours, AM, PM, and Saturday on Hopkins Hill Road at Senator Wingler Boulevard, Dante Boulevard. We reviewed record information available from decades worth of information as this project Senator Wing was developed. There's a history of information. We obtained accident data from the local police department to determine if there were any safety concerns, locations of occurrence of accidents that we would need to address or take into consideration. Then we developed the trip generation estimate for the residential uses. And then bottom line, we assessed the safety and operations of existing conditions and proposed future build conditions to determine what effects it would have on the local street system. As I mentioned, the report will be reviewed independently by the town's peer reviewer. They'll guide the town in assessing our study in making sure we address all the concerns from the town boards and local departments. I'd just like to go over what has been done as part of the original approvals and how that works and relates to where we are today. I got involved with Universal Properties back in the early 2000s. Mr. Cambio had built the initial commercial phases at either end. At the time, he wanted to get those anchors in. There was no overall master plan at the time for the development, but he moved forward quickly with those two end pieces to get the major anchors in so he could move forward with an overall concept that at the time he didn't know what he was going to do on the 400 plus acres. So after those initial sites were constructed, that included like the Cracker Barrel, the Wendy's, Hampton Inn, the BJ's, he had to obtain a master plan for the whole site because West Greenwich, East Greenwich, Coventry, were asking, what are you doing? So through the town, he created that master plan, had it approved in 2004. As part of that 2004 approval, he had to have this document prepared. This is a transportation master plan that was comprehensive of all the roadways and intersections servicing the development, included, I think, over 11 intersections from 95 to Route 3. So this was a document that was the basis for what's been done on the center of New England. It provided by phase, because it was broken up into 6 phases, by phase, an analysis of each of those phases and what mitigation would be necessary to mitigate any of those phases as they were approved and developed. So as part of phase 1, he had to upgrade New London Turnpike. At the time I was involved, it was a 2-lane road with no traffic signals. I designed those improvements and permitted them through the state and installed them, and also the Coventry Crossings project. So as part of the 2005 to 7 period, that work was done. Then as part of what they call phase 1 was the Home Depot and the Walmart. So Senator New England Boulevard got extended in sections as those lots got developed. As we all know, Senator New England Boulevard was supposed to go all the way through, and that was the basis of this study design. But with the economy, the wetlands crossing that was required, it never got built. So that's how we've approached our project, is what's there today, with the knowledge that everyone knows that that's work just started back on the roadway. So all being resurfaced as we speak. The roadway connection just started a few weeks ago. So that will be completed. Our approach to this is we will reevaluate what redistribution of traffic would be created with that connection. So that'll allow us to get a future basis to evaluate this development and any other parcels in the future that come before the board. So we need to wait probably 3 to 6 months after that connection to let the redistribution of traffic be established, and then we can collect new traffic data and have a basis going forward as we go through the process. I'm able to answer any questions.
Thank you. You have anybody else coming up? Can I ask Mr. Bannon a question? So I know traffic, we didn't see the report, but I have to bring this up because my wife hears it every time I drive to Center New England up the London Turnpike. It's starting to stack up because we have a car wash, we have a Cumberland Farms, we have a Dunkin' Donuts, we have a lot of commercial across the street. I don't know if this can be done, but if a right turn only, if you're in the London Turnpike and you're going 95 south and you're at that light, it stacks that right lane right up because nobody can turn into Center of New England. So I don't know if your traffic study, if you could maybe look into a right turn only into Center of New England, because remember, when this was designed, none of this commercial properties were in existence at that time.
And I agree. And the basis of, why I brought up the, transportation master plan is that's one of the mitigation options long-term as the project was developed, is to put a dedicated right
So
turn lane.
so
into.
there is enough room that's been put aside, you believe? I know there's telephone poles that need to be moved, but there's a Wendy's wall there.
We moved them before, so.
Great. All right.
But yes, that was one of the mitigation options long-term for the site. But again, that's today. Once the boulevard is connected, that volume I see being reduced that needs to get in there, that comes from other directions, because that's the only way they can get there today. So again, traffic is going to be
Dispersed.
new and redistributed across the network of streets, and that's what we're going to look at probably this time next year.
All right, I think New London Turnpike will still be very active.
Oh,
because
it will be,
Anybody
but
going to use those commercial properties, BJ's, and you said a few of them, are gonna go in that entrance. I think the residential areas, Chocolate Hill.
but if you're coming from Route 3 out in this area,
Right.
you're not gonna,
Right.
where you have to today, you're not gonna have to.
That's all I have. Thank you. Anybody else on traffic?
Well, as long as we're on the topic, I just, and I can appreciate everything that the chairman just said, but in the back of my mind, and again, I don't know, maybe before I make my statement, I know they talked about constructing this project or starting in 2025. I don't know what a realistic date is for completion, given both the labor market and the demand for housing. But assuming it's a few years out, okay? I'm aware of projects that have multiple units that just got built on Crompton Road. We had another application before us, preliminary, a couple of weeks back, further down to London Avenue. We've seen condominium developments and a free flow of traffic coming out of West Warwick to use that interchange on 95. We have the other, I'll call it the memory care unit, the housing in the other side of New London Avenue that's coming in. I think that, and the study that you did, quite frankly, is going to be 20 years old within a couple of years.
Well, the study I did included those.
And believe me, I am so pleased to see the connection being made and the development coming in. But I think the town, not just the applicant, needs to take a comprehensive look and approach the state and East Greenwich and West Greenwich and figure out what they're going to do from the intersection of Arnold Road down to the interchange with Hopkins Hill. There's going to be improvements that are going to need to be made. It's going to require approvals from the state. They're not going to come up with the money. I think the town needs to look at impact fees that they might collect, possibly if Mr. Lombardo's report is correct and we're going to generate that kind of revenue over the first 5 years with this project, to take a piece of that and maybe come up with a tax treaty and fund these improvements while this thing is being built, so we don't end up with a major traffic nightmare outside of the development. These people are still going to be going into town to shop. They got to get to work in the morning. And I tell you right now, just getting off of 95 North to take a left on that New London Turnpike is treacherous without a signal. So that's kind of where I'm going. I don't want to put it on this developer, but I think the town needs to be a player, whether it's through the state delegation or a meeting between the town council and the director of transportation. But Paul, you've worked on projects like this, like Amazon and Johnston. They get done through a group effort.
Correct.
Physical alterations permit. Someone pays for it and it gets built concurrently with this development so that when it opens up, everything flows. If we wait until this thing is built up to try to do that project after the fact, it'll take another 3 years.
Yeah, it's important to be proactive, but I want you to take a step back and say we shouldn't be evaluating what the infrastructure improvements need to be until a connection is made. Then we understand the basis that we would be going forward.
That's fine, but I just want to make sure it can't just take into account this project. It needs to be a collective effort. So hopefully the peer reviewer that we get will be able to review all of the projects and make the recommendation, and then find a way to share in the cost or because I know the town's not gonna get a bond to go out and build it, and the DOT's probably not gonna build it. But collectively, if you take some creative financing, whether it's tax treaty, impact fees, or some other sources for the off-site improvements, I think it's necessary.
Yes, again, I was there when it was a 2-lane road, then it was a
And
stop
to
sign.
jump in on
Right,
that,
Arnold.
Mr.
So-
McLean actually brought that up last meeting, that he wants the traffic study to include all the
Yeah,
buildup.
I
around the-
included all those
So just
because
so you know.
I did a number of those both in West Warwick, East Greenwich, also included other parcels within. So our report is comprehensive to the current, what's going on today, and for planned or approved projects in that immediate area. So we have a basis of what's being generated in that area. But again, we want to work with the town's peer reviewer, and get an understanding long-term, once the connection is made, where traffic is going from today to the future, what's convenient for them. We wait 3 to 6 months, let people figure out, the best routes to get to and from where they want to go. And then we'll take a look at it and say, okay, we need to adjust this signal timing. We need to do this. We need to put in a right turn lane, those types of things, all going forward.
The point was, it's in everybody's best interest, and I'm not leaving it up to the developer to do it. The town has to be a partner, the other developments have to be a partner, but I just want to make sure we're responsibly developing the properties in that area.
Yes.
We all know we want to see more affordable housing. We want to see people that shop and spend money in our community, and it's good for business in center of New England. So
Yeah.
tax revenue, it's great.
And I'm working with the receiver on the improvements that are being made now. That'll include upgrades of the traffic signal, restriping of the boulevard, so you know where to be in the massive pavement. So, within a 3-month period, it'll be drastically improved what people have been dealing with in the last, 15, 20 years.
Yep. Thank you.
Go ahead, Mr. Anderson.
Hey, Paul.
Hi.
More within the project, lot 4. And I heard that was potential second access. I think that potential.
Correct. What in our study, we looked at it as a isolated access because of the wetlands crossings that need to be made and problematic environmental issues. So yeah, the long goal would be to make that connection, but we were conservative and looked at it in an isolated manner.
Yeah, I think that I don't know what would drive that, or what means you could do and what we could pull off. But it seems to me you got 300, 350 lots or something proposed on that. 350.
2 and 3
Yeah, 350 units on lot 4.
apartments, correct?
Yeah, and I know just two-part. It just seems to me that if anyone just wants to say go to Central New England, and go shop, that access would just alleviate so much on Arnold Road, and I think they would use it and be prompted. And also I'm showing a roundabout on Arnold Road,
That was we wanted to throw that concept out there for the town.
and I guess history shows us that the roundabout, it does provide better flow, like for everything going on right there. That's a Arnold Road at those certain hours.
We introduced that because that's right at the transition area from the 2-lane section, 3-lane section through the residential neighborhoods where you have multiple mid-block crossings, high visibility crosswalks where, you're trying to create a different environment. That putting a roundabout there kind of creates a gateway to that.
And that would be the best improved, so to speak, best improved opportunity for that section?
Yes, yes.
Okay.
It would calm traffic down, get people to be aware of it's a different road. It's not the
Right.
commercial section.
Right, I see it calming traffic down, but not the guy that's, 60 cars deep, because, people just don't know how to use those on roundabout.
No,
That's what's getting me. People travel that, you try to go home down Arnold Road at a certain hour and you're backed up beyond Tyoke Lake trying to get to Sandy Bottom Road. So if that's the best, then it's the best, That's all. I just wanted to touch base on it.
Yep. That's a discussion point, how that wants to be treated with the town, if at all it's ever needed.
All right, that's all. Thanks.
Mr. Priest.
Thank you. Hi, Paul, how are you? I like the idea of the roundabout on Arnold Road. One of the concerns I have is the 24-foot width throughout the complex, and the multitude of exits, which I understand the reasoning for it, and I do agree with it. However, I'd like to see if we can kind of focus on a few of the roads, maybe to kind of reduce the traffic flow into the existing development to the left. Maybe if we can highlight that road that you're putting out to center of New England through parcel 4, maybe make that a little wider so it becomes more of a traffic flow.
Sort of
to-
what Dante Boulevard is, or because you don't have access to the homes off of Dante. Dante's the collector road within the neighborhood, and you have to turn off that to get to your homes.
Yeah.
So, yeah, we'll look at how it transitions, how they collect the traffic. We're trying to get, it was initially designed with those connections to the Highlands and approved that way.
Mhm.
We're looking to get
I
an
understand.
additional access through what is now not there, but we're looking to get that connection directly to the boulevard.
Yeah,
that
I
would-
think that would be a large help for the existing communities around there.
Yes,
to
yes,
reduce the flow
that
to the
connection would be
neighborhood.
a major enhancement.
With, I know, are you concerned, or do you have any concern with flow going from Arnold Road through the development to center of New England Boulevard that aren't residential? How are you addressing that, as, people using it as a public road versus the private road?
What road are you talking about?
So you have the entrance on Arnold Road, and you can kind of go all the way across through
Into the neighborhood.
into the neighborhoods and all the way through to the next main road. Are you putting anything to kind of
We're at a
just
very
the
conceptual
narrower
stage,
streets?
and we will be looking at reducing any cut through or, shortcutting of traffic and speeds through the neighborhoods. Yes, we will,
Okay.
that's a final design detail that we'll work through.
Okay, thank you.
Again,
Anybody
a
else on
number, a lot
traffic?
of that is wetlands
Got
area,
it.
so we have to
Be
be
cautious, yep.
sensitive.
Anybody else on traffic?
I don't know, I'm sorry, I don't know if mine's traffic or not. So that lot 4 with the apartments, if I'm looking at the right lot.
7 buildings.
Yeah, 7 buildings. So right now, did I hear there's environmental challenges in connecting that road into the
Oh, you
other
see all the
portion of
green?
Development? Yes, I did.
Those
Okay,
are, those
was-
are all
yeah,
wetlands, and
yeah.
there's presently the gravel roads that.
Was there any thought to acquiring rights if needed to get, let's say, to the road that currently runs between, I think, BJ's and Home Depot?
I'm
Come on
not,
up.
We have discussed that with the town. I think that's a better question for the town solicitor, Steve Angel.
Okay, all right, yeah, I'll defer that. I
I don't want to misrepresent.
No,
so we
no.
can give you a better
And I could
answer.
go, honestly, I could see where that could be a betterment and a detriment, especially when we're talking about cut-throughs.
I think there's even a privately owned lot that we'd have to go through. But again, I don't want to misrepresent. I'd
yeah.
rather give you a real.
That's fine. That's fine. I appreciate
Thank you.
that. So Paul, then your traffic study with regards to that portion of the development can almost be completed without,
I treated it in my report as an isolated.
as a isolated with the roundabout, that would be the sole access for X amount of units, X amount of cars coming out onto Arnold Road, given the existing traffic conditions.
Correct.
Noting, of course, that the traffic on Arnold Road may drop if there's a connection. Okay, thank you.
Anybody else on traffic? I think we're set for traffic.
Thank you very much.
Yeah.
Thank you.
So just to wrap up before the public speaks, I just want to be clear, there's a lot more to do even before the next meeting. Everybody we always hear, obviously, traffic is a major concern. We will be talking a lot more about traffic at the next meeting. You will have your peer reviewer. We will have met with staff. There's a lot more to do in the next month. I also want to say that I'll have all the experts back next month, and we'll talk about the legal required findings that we have to talk about before you make your decision. Not going to do that tonight because it'll be too piecemeal. But other than that, I think we're done unless you have any other questions.
Well, I have a few questions.
Sure.
A technical review committee, I know the fire department was concerned about dead ends.
Yes,
So they wanted them limited. So you've read the technical review committee. I think you might. have
we were
even
there.
been there.
Yes.
The other one, I don't see any 3-bedroom units. I see
We're not proposing any.
1 and 2
three-bedroom units.
bedrooms.
1 and 2, at most. There's even some studios.
So that helps the fiscal impact in the school system.
Correct.
The affordable. You don't have to apply for a comp permit to give affordable. You can just be generous and give affordable, unless I'm wrong, Mr. Solicitor. Did they say they can't do affordable? I mean, you can do affordable if you want to give affordable.
We don't need to get down this road right now, but the bottom line is there was a consent agreement. With a
Okay,
condition of the consent agreement shall be no affordable.
okay.
So
I just wanted to clarify.
because times have changed since that consent agreement that goes back
2003
3,
or 4.
and our world has changed, and affordable is a mandatory requirement. We're going to amend that consent agreement, and they've agreed to do that.
Okay,
But right
just wanted
now,
to
there's a consent court order that says no affordable, and just so people are clear, that was a condition that the town imposed in the consent agreement.
Okay.
The people sitting on the town council did not want any affordable to be a component of this. So just so you understand the concept, the world has changed since that. We're talking 20 years later, right?
yeah, the average medium house right now in Rhode Island is 500,000, if you can believe it. So,
I want to make another point too, Mr. Chairman. The word affordable is a misnomer, right? It's low and moderate income housing that can range to people who have,
yes,
that includes firemen, policemen, teachers, municipal workers. The income goes up to 120% if it's home ownership of the average median income in the area. So people sometimes think affordable means Section 8.
no.
It doesn't necessarily mean
Doesn't at
Section
all.
8, and it won't be Section 8 in this case. So just what the town is negotiating is affordable, moderate income, high income,
Yeah.
affordable, that meet the state requirement, but do not, is not a, low income.
Thank
An
you.
easy sum, is that a percentage? Like when I've explained it to people, is what I know, I said it's about 30%.
So it depends on how many bedrooms. Rhode Island, if you want to look online, and I can send it to staff and they could share it with you. Every year, Rhode Island Housing puts out the medium annual income for 1-bedroom studios, 1 bedrooms, 2 bedrooms, 3 bedrooms, 4 bedrooms. So for example, and I know more about rental than I do about home ownership. So for rentals, you can go up to 80% of annual median income. And for a 1-bedroom, that means that affordable rate is going to be about $1,800 a month for a 1-bedroom. For a 2-bedroom, it's going to be about $2,200 a month. So people, just
Not
to add to what
affordable
David, people still have to qualify. And just to add to what David said, you have to have an income. You have to qualify just like any other tenant would have to qualify. So just to add that.
So you
It's
also,
just one thing, and in this case, I think we clarified, you're still going forward with all the affordable being in
Yes.
number 4.
Yes, so what we're proposing is that, and this helps with the developer because again, he doesn't have to do it. And we didn't come into this thinking that we had to do it. So what he can do is provide probably about 2 buildings. It'll be 15% of everything that we're proposing. It'll likely be in 1 or 2 buildings on lot 4.
Through the chair, if I may just briefly comment on the affordable.
Yeah.
It is something that I'd like to vet further with the applicant, and some of that might be offline because I really want to understand the nature of what can be offered through this process. Because obviously, if that's something that we're interested in including as a condition of approval, that certainly would tie this applicant to that obligation. And there's ways for us to ensure that we can tie it to an obligation and that the applicant can pursue that. I don't have the direct consent agreement in front of me, but I believe the requirement was that the town shall not require affordables, which may be a bit different than there shall be no affordables. So perhaps this is something with additional legal review we can get to the bottom of. The applicant clearly has an intent to work with us. But I really want to ensure that we've got the right tools in place so that we can move this forward with that intent, but that we don't end up approving a project that we then later can't get the affordables that we thought were part of this
I
proposal.
agree with you, Doug, and because of the density that's involved in this project, I think it should be a little bit higher than 15%, in my opinion. I don't want to throw out a number. I usually count by fives, but I don't want to throw out a number. I think it could go north of 15% because of the density bonus you're getting on this property. I mean, you're not getting a bonus. I want to reword that. It was run through the courts, but this is a vigorous project with a high density.
We understand what you're saying. We think we're being very generous, but we're happy to keep talking.
I just wanted to throw it out
Yep.
there. Thank you. Anybody else?
Just had one thing I wanted to follow up on. I think it was is all the parking waiver, again, with the apartments,
Just on lot 4, yes.
just on lot 4. So on
Yeah.
lot 4, we're dealing with the affordable housing component, the rents.
Yes,
And then we've got studios, 1 bedrooms and 2 bedrooms.
correct.
I may differ based on some experience as far as how many cars are needed for 1 bedroom, but specifically, how many units versus how many parking spaces? We kind of glossed over. I didn't get a number.
So, and I would rather not, because we're hoping to get a master plan approval for some number of units. When we go back to preliminary plan, we may have a change. So I would like the approval to be, the zoning variance will be 1.5 parking spaces per unit, rather than a number.
Right. But, okay, so I have to look in the report was my point. What I was trying to gauge was how many 1 bedrooms, how many
Oh, it's about
studios.
30%.
Right. So, but in terms, I'm trying to figure out how many of the units are not going to have the 2 spaces. That's what I was trying to figure out.
Gotcha. And we'll
So-
have that for you next time.
Okay, as long as I could get that. And just one other comment, I know Mr. Lombardo's not here, but maybe if someone could just look at page 5 of his report. If you don't have it, that's fine.
No, I do.
I read through most of it, but there's a line right in the middle of the report that says proposed 662 unit development, Coventry, Rhode Island, Star Capital.
That's a typo.
I thought it might be because he was correct. All the other numbers added up to the 700. So we can certainly correct it here with a pen. I just wanted to clarify that was a typo and I wasn't misreading it,
712.
is what it
Mr.
should say
Cronin,
in the middle of
yes.
page 5. Okay.
I
no
will have that corrected.
problem.
That's all. Thanks. Anybody else have any questions? Go ahead, John.
I do have a question, and it may have been dealt with at a prior meeting. I'm just seeking clarification more on the process. So as far as the variance goes for the parking, are we to be reviewing that parking? And I don't know if this is a question for Doug or
Yes.
or the solicitor or anybody. Is this as Unified Development Review under the Planning Commission? So in other words, we're reviewing the parking. We would be the ones that would be granting the variance moving forward.
Correct, yes. This is being reviewed under Unified Development Review. Right now, the applicant has identified 1 variance. There is potential that through the course of further review, there may be additionals. And you'll see the staff report might point to the potential for variance, either an additional variance that might be required or a plan modification that might be required to address some of the standards. And eventually, when we summarize what numbers of variances are needed, what they are, and what is the project, there will be 2 votes. A vote to approve this project at the master plan phase of a major land development, and a vote to approve the variances. And that this eventually a Unified Development Review does require those 2 separate votes and the 2 separate state required findings that are made for each one.
What's that, John? Anybody else? You have anything further?
Nope, Doug did mention, we just saw the staff report. this morning was when I got a chance to look at it from last night. There are some new issues that they brought up. We are confident that we can address those with staff before the next meeting.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Okay, I think we're gonna entertain a motion, to open up public hearing. I have a motion by Mr. Race, second by Mr. Smith. All those in favor? Aye. Okay, public hearing is now open. As I stated at the beginning of the meeting, there's really no information on traffic. We haven't seen any traffic plans. As you can tell, we're concerned about traffic. So I'm gonna start on this side of the room. If anybody wants to come up. Now, we're gonna be here next month for master plan again. So, come up and try not to repeat what somebody else said. If you want to just come up and say, I agree with that person, that's fine. Come up, sir. That's what I was. Name and address, please. Thank you.
Okay, my name is Peter Garofalo, and I am president of Whipple Farm Condominium, formerly known as Granite Greg Court, 1 Greg Court, Coventry. I had a couple questions. Mr. Bannon would probably be the one that if I asked the questions to him. I
Why
know,
don't you ask the questions and then
Okay.
the applicant will write it down.
okay. The amount of traffic that is going to occur connecting Center of New England Boulevard. We already get, because I'm right there, we already get many trucks coming there thinking they could get through, coming from Hopkins Hill. And the amount of traffic is going to cause a couple of problems. Number one, the noise problem. But number two, at the junction of Center of New England and Hopkins Hill, that's a very bad traffic pattern right now. Getting out of that, school buses for the Trudeau Center, construction equipment from D'Ambra, also construction equipment from 2 other buildings there, from Anson to Stone, as well as people living in the area there, people living in the Highlands, people living in Whipple Farm and on Sonia Court. It all comes out to there, and getting out of there a lot of times in the morning and at night is drastic. Now you also have DEI, a DIA right on the corner there. A lot of trucks moving back and forth. And I believe when they need to look at putting a good traffic pattern in place there. Again, maybe like almost the same way that has been done on New London Turnpike. Red lights, one-way traffic, whatever coming in, left turn, right turn, whichever. Those things are going to be very important to have, because once that road is opened up, the traffic is going to be horrendous. I think most of you know that already. You've seen it at the other end. It's going to end up off the Hopkins Hill end. Going to make a big difference. That's number one. The other thing I was concerned with was, and I showed on the map,
Yeah, just
probably,
try not to touch it. Thank you.
coming in from Arnold Road, this road coming across to a traffic circle, continuing over to Angelina Drive. This is going to affect drastically the amount of people coming across here. Now, some just may come down to the Center of New England.
It's still working, so it's good. It's still working, so it's good.
But continuing over to Angelina, it's a major problem. It's gonna be a big cut here. It's gonna be a major cut through, unless they come that way, then it's gonna be a major tie up down here. Gonna need another red light there. And I would think another red light at the end of Dante Boulevard. Just things that I know that you consider them, and I'm sure Dan has looked at these. But again, you see the traffic. You don't know.
And this will be addressed in the next meeting. We don't have a traffic report. And that could actually be included in the traffic report. We just don't, we haven't seen it yet.
It's gonna be hard to get a traffic report until it's opened up. How many people aren't gonna come down to London Turnpike to get there? How many people are gonna come in Hopkins Hill to go to the box stores. How many trailer trucks are gonna come in that way? These are things that we're all concerned about, and I'm sure everyone else is concerned about it too. And I believe it's gotta be addressed correctly.
I agree. I said last month, we have one bite at this apple. We want to get it right. I agree with you, sir. Thank you. Anybody else on this side like to come up? Come on up, sir. Name and address, please. Wait till you get to the mic.
Ready to go.
Thanks.
Robert Lane, 14 Acorn Street. So 14 Acorn Street, ACORN. Live about less than a quarter of a mile from what that is proposed to be. That is going to be catastrophic to my neighborhood. Like, I've been waiting 20 years for sewers, and I can't even understand what the impact of this is going to do on what was just done before all those neighborhoods that are already there that have been waiting are supposed to get them. That, you know, what's there, it's been explained, can handle what that is gonna do, but what about the thousands of other houses that are there that are waiting for it? I'd like to see that report, because I know that line was put in, Center of New England hooked up to it, wasn't big enough, had to be made bigger, road got ripped up, tore up, new ones got put in, and then we've seen nothing for 5 years now. I have major concerns. Traffic, reiterate what he says, granted, what you said about all the other development that is happening, that is not yet done.
It's
that
all
is in
getting
the
taken into
process.
consideration.
I mean, I've watched that place go from a four-way stop sign to what it is now, and it's not that great. You've all said it, you all know it. I don't mind developing. I build houses for a living, work for developers. Progress has to go. This is beyond progress, in my opinion. This is being greedy. The 1.5, there's no way that's ever gonna work, because a 2-bedroom house can have 3 cars at a minimum. You get a kid that's 16 years old, you get a set of parents. A 1-bedroom, that's 2 cars. You're already over the limit of the 1.5. That I believe should not be granted. Personally, I see that as fights over parking spaces down the road. Beyond that, the traffic, the sewers, and environmental impact, erosion, water runoff. I mean, I've seen a difference just with Warwick Tree opening up and what we've had on those roads. This is a lot. I mean, like I said, I do this for a living. I see what clearing land does. I know. I see what all the solar fields they've put in West Greenwich have done to people that I know that live there. The water runoff on those, it's not contained. I didn't really look at plans for this. I'm not gonna lie about that, but that to me, and what this is gonna do to the neighborhoods beyond this place, really needs to be taken into consideration. And I already know wildlife is already being pushed just from starting what's been started around there. I see coyotes in my front yard now, like never happened before. That should all be thought about, because every person that lives in neighborhoods that's been here for a long time is gonna be drastically changed in the way they go about their life. I'm not opposed to progress, like I said, but this is a big bite in a small spot.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And the town is taking this very serious. They are here for reviewing this, so. Anybody else on this side like to come up? Anybody on this side like to come up? Come on up, sir. One in the back first, I'll get you next, Senator.
Paul Hamlin, 21 Lydia Road, Coventry. My property abuts one of the adjoining sites. I'm not against them developing the land behind Hopkins Hill School in particular, because my home gets pelted by sand. However, I would have thought logistically, the town would have taken the opportunity when they had possession of the land to market that for a futuristic Hopkins Hill School. Because I did see it in the news a year ago, that it's a dilapidated building. And they tried for getting state funding. The flip side to it is that the impact, who's paying for the water, sewers, all that stuff is gonna come from the town, people. And as other people had mentioned, a 1 or 2 bedroom, you're gonna get a single mom, maybe a child, maybe 2 people if you're lucky. There's not, at 1,800, not many people are able to afford that as one person in that unit. I can assure you that, not including utilities that just went up, what, 30%? And they're gonna go up again. They've already mentioned it. It's been on the news. It's not hidden knowledge. It's not anything like that. Secondly is, for the proposal of the high-rise apartments or the apartment buildings, if you make a suggestion, put it in the old Kmart parking lot. The provision's already there. You have water, you have an adequate site, you're clearing up an eyesore. The local traffic's gonna deal with local businesses on that street. It's not big box stores, it's local mom and pops that will benefit from it. But logistically, the impact on Arnold Road, as it currently stands, that traffic sits in the morning and at night, sometimes coming in and out of town. The traffic is ending over by the Warwick Tree, going to the top of the hill. That road's just not long enough. It should have been thought of before the solar field, maybe expand the road a little bit. You could have added another lane, like a right-hand turn lane at that point. But they just added new telephone poles for that solar project that's going in. You have, on the other side, you have an adjournment where that property is no longer occupied by a residential dwelling. Could have encroached on that. Taken that wall down and made that second lane maybe just a little longer. But logistically, I don't see that as affordable housing. I mean, I can tell you, a lot of people in this room at 2,200 for a 2-bedroom, you're like, then taxes, all that, I'm sorry, I just don't see it as a feasible solution. The condos, I get it. If I looked on site, the Highlands, 450,000 for a unit. Not cheap. That's not that's 2,200 approximately a month. You're not doing that on one car. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for your comments. Come on up, Sandy. You move your seat. You got me all confused there. Name and address.
State Senator Leo Raptakis, 2080 Nooseneck Hill Road. I just want to share some concerns of the planning board. This is probably one of the biggest projects that we've seen in the town's history, and probably even abutting communities like West Warwick, North Kingstown, even East Greenwich, which are probably compatible size. I think some of the main concerns is I did read the letter from the Village Green Condo Association President, Mr. O'Brien, and I think those concerns have been brought up regarding the commercial element. We've already have 2 gas stations within the complex, Cumberland Farms and the BJ's, but also more additional commercial development, I think, is a big concern. But 2 points I want to make out is also water pressure. What is the water pressure going to be for the current customers, the residents? And what is the supply going to be with Kent County Water? So I'm not sure if we received or will receive Kent County Water's report. The other issue is the sewer capacity also. We've had questions about the sewer capacity. So I think those are 2 major issues that we should also be concerned of a complex or development of this size. So when we do debate this in the future regarding also the traffic study that's going to be brought forth next month, working also with DOT and with my colleagues in government, I think we should just go slowly and address the concerns of not only the residents from the condo association, but also the current residents. We have other residents in a budding town of West Greenwich, which is the center of New England border, where you have other residents there. So I think the whole issue should be addressed cautiously and move slowly to make sure that we address this properly. Thank you.
Thank you. Come on up.
Anne Marie Terrio, THERRIAULT, 31 King Street.
Move right.
Better?
Yes.
Okay, 31 King Street and then Anne Marie Terrio. All right, so I agree with everything that was already said. Oops. All right, everything that was already said, I agree with. I do have a concern about something on a map, if we can bring that up.
Sure.
Map 7. Page 7. Can I go over there?
Yeah.
Okay.
You can hold the mic too if you want.
Okay.
Okay, so we also abut, this is site 2, I'm guessing, okay. So this is our property right here, and we're just kind of concerned as why this landscape buffer is going straight through our property. Yes.
Yeah. Take the comments and then you can address them.
Okay, yeah. So everything else I agree with. Obviously, we're very close to that project. And 20 years or so ago, we did talk to Cambio. We did actually get some land from him too, and we were agreeable to some sort of a project. This is more than the original agreement, well, not agreement, the original proposal that he came to us with. So we actually have the same concerns as everybody else. It's really close. It's very saturated to the neighborhood, the traffic. The school buses in the morning are already ridiculous on both sides of those, and then the cut through from Johnson Boulevard as well. So, you know, obviously we agree with everything else that it's already said, but our main concern right now is wanting to know why that line is going right through our property.
Thank you.
All right, no problem.
Anybody else on this side? Come on up, right in the middle here. I'll get to you next.
Michael Muschetti, 38 MOS CHEPTI, 3806 Village Green Circle. I just have a couple of concerns with fire and rescue with that development being that large. Can they handle the amount of calls that they could be getting? Seeing Hopkins Hill is a very small fire station. And the other issue I have is with the traffic. On that center of New England Boulevard, there are no speed limit signs there. And some people think that they could do 50 to 60 down there, and they're flying. And I've seen numerous almost accidents happen. And another issue is when a tractor trailer is pulling out of the center of New England Boulevard, taking a right to get onto the highway, they have to climb the curb because it's a very narrow turn there. And then when you're coming from off of 95 and you're sitting there and this tractor trailer is coming right at you and he's trying to make that turn, and they shouldn't have to climb the sidewalk to make that turn.
Thank you. Come on up in the back.
Jerry Narkowitz, 21 Beach Street, Coventry, Rhode Island. Traffic is obviously huge. I'm not even going to speak about that. But we haven't heard anything about drainage. Where does most of this development's drainage go? I'm hoping Nicole can speak about that, whether it's through you.
We have our engineer and the technical review committee is on top of the drainage. I can guarantee you that, but you can speak on the question.
I have a lot of history. I'm the lake president, Lake Tioga. And when before the center of New England was developed, we would get a storm, 3-inch storm. It's a good sized storm. And Lake Tioga would turn brown. Any of you who have lived here a long time, you know what I'm talking about. You could see it. It was just brown. Center of New England did us a massive favor when they developed, because they did a good job on the drainage. And they captured a lot of it and took care of the siltation that was coming off the runoff. This is a big development. And
how much of this development will go to Lake Tioga? How much of it goes, maybe, I don't know if it goes to the Hopkins, to the wellhead, situation at Mishna. I don't know if it reaches there. But I'm very interested in that. And I haven't heard anybody speak on it, so I wanted to throw my 2 cents in.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Anybody else? Come on up, sir. Name and address, please.
Carl Turner. Carl Turner, Turner. I live at 38 Leas Lane in the Highlands. I'm concerned about the construction going on, development. A lot of the traffic now is going to be going through our development. The road construction traffic, we're responsible for that road. It's a private road. Any repairs and stuff is upon us to take care of it. So I'm concerned about where all that construction traffic is going to be going in the next 4 or 5 years for this construction period. We don't want it coming through our development, that's for sure. Because the roads are just, they're hot topping it now. They're doing a good job. We'd like to keep it that way. We're still concerned about the traffic, as everybody else is, big concern. The other concern I have, can I go to the map over here for a minute?
Absolutely, sir.
Sir, and sir, if you will grab that microphone, that will help ensure that everyone that's for the record and everyone that's on Zoom can hear
Just
you.
name the streets if you know them, sir.
I'm not sure what this road is. It comes off 95 coming towards Tuggs Avenue. So turning into our development right here, there's a turn coming in and it's not a 90-degree turn. It's probably 120, 130-degree turn turning into our development. That really slows the traffic down traveling that road. And I know as the traffic going to increase, it's going to be a bigger problem. So I think something should be done with that. I'm sure are going to be concerned and more questions coming up as we get into the future meetings. So, thank you.
Thank you, sir. Come on up, sir. You're next, the middle. Go ahead. You right there in the blue shirt. Come on up.
Hi, John Paul Verducci, 5 Sweet Fern Lane. You're welcome. I'm not going to touch the map. So obviously tonight's meeting is on a specific development. A lot of good concerns have been brought up. Last night we had a town council meeting. A lot of other good concerns were brought up. You know, one thing we're starting to hear from the residents tonight about schools, public safety, utilities, traffic. It's just becoming more and more evident. You know, the town needs a plan that would help guide this development as they come to fruition like this. So, you know, many people are saying things tonight that, you know, really could have been prevented, you know, if the town had a more long-term view of some of the development in town. You know, when you think of the schools and all the various components that, you know, go into the planning, and I know you're taking it all into account, it's just something to think about, you know, for the future as these come up, that this isn't just a one-off exercise. This needs to be something we plan for, you know, so that when they come up, these issues can be abated a little bit. That's all.
Thank you very much. Anybody else on this side? Anybody on Zoom? Cody? Can you raise your hand if you're on Zoom? Didn't want to speak. Nothing? Okay, I'm gonna keep public hearing open. Is there anybody else who'd like to come back up? Come on up. But we're gonna have another public hearing when they come back. I'm gonna keep it open.
Good evening. Kenneth Smith, 20 Jade Road, Coventry. I was wondering if there was any impact study to the effects of Rope Walk Pond. There is a feeder stream that comes directly out of, I guess it'd be stage 4. that feeds into Rope Walk Pond, and that the exit of Rope Walk Pond comes right through my backyard. I was wondering if there was any kind of study done to the impact of that pond, because that is fed directly from that area. Okay.
Thank you. Is that it? I appreciate that.
No, I think that's all. Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Anybody else hasn't spoken yet? Come on up, sir. Come on up to the mic. You need his name and address again. Can you come on up to, well, you can give your name and address off of that mic, please.
Thomas Hanlon, 21 Lydia Road, Coventry. In addition to the property that you're talking about off Lydia Road and so forth, there are multiple retaining ponds that Carty used to use that are near the section of the apartments that they're talking about. There's one directly behind BJ's that's also there. There's also a swampy area where they're currently.
All the green on that map is wetlands.
Okay, I wasn't sure if that was the forest area they were carrying.
That's all wetlands.
The other,
We're well aware of that.
the other thing is that behind the Hopkins Hill School area, when we had that flood, 10 years ago, that land had came up to ground level, the water
On King Street, correct?
at the end of King Street.
I was
correct?
standing in that up
Yep.
to my waist.
Mr. Cambio filled that back in with 4 feet of sand from the hill that was behind Hopkins Hill School. I called DEM myself and they went, nobody wanted to address it. And it was originally, as some of you may have been in the town long ago, that was a pond back there, directly back there. And now it disappeared. They said it was a retention pond. They were fishing it, but they covered it back in with sand. That if you, in the future, that will affect your drainage going forward.
Thank you. Come on up. Name and address, please, again.
Okay, so it's Anne Marie Terrio, 31 King Street. And just to get back to what he was saying, the last storm as well, I have aerial photos of our whole street, which is King. And it looks like we're sitting in the middle of a moat. Every single one of us got flooded and needed the fire department to come flood out. We got our upstairs the last time. The whole rest of the neighborhood got their whole basements, and that was the second time in 10 years.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Anybody else? Come on up, sir.
Peter Garofalo, Greg Court. Just to go back to the parking, and I know that's got to be decided. Normally, when you approve something, it's approved for 2 parking spaces per, from what I understand. Are we setting a precedent if we change it for just one person?
I say no, I don't say there's a precedent setting. It depends on the variables involved.
Right,
And
but it-
we didn't make any decision.
No, I know that, but
No.
I'm just worried about if we're setting a precedent.
No, because every project is different.
Okay.
We look at every project different.
Right, okay. And, because like we say, if it's a 1 bedroom, that's 2 people, most likely.
You could
That's
be
2 cars.
surprised, some of them 1 bedrooms, people won't even have cars,
Yeah,
in
but
my experience.
in Coventry,
It's not
probably.
impossible.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Anybody else? And remember, public hearing will be staying open, so you can certainly come back next month and speak again. If you'd like to come up and answer any of the questions you heard tonight, I know I don't want to be redundant because you will be
Right.
back, probably
So
answering them again.
I think that there was a lot of talk about traffic, and I don't think we have to
We don't.
talk about that again tonight, because we will talk about a lot the next time we're here.
Agreed.
In terms of infrastructure like sewer, where the experts are looking into that, they're gonna work with the town in terms of sewer, water pressure, water availability, all of that. I do ask Mr. Bannon to get up to talk about the Center of New England Boulevard relating to the speed. He has an answer for that.
In reference to the improvements that are currently being made, they're putting the final surface course on tonight on one of the barrels. So within probably 2 to 3 weeks, It'll be fully restriped. There'll be left turn lanes. It'll be a 2-lane road, and it'll be posted at 30 miles an hour.
And
No.
I'm just trying to go through my notes. There is no commercial development proposed here. One of the speakers mentioned commercial development. At this point, there's no commercial development proposed. And then if Nicole can speak again at a high level relating to drainage and water flow, we can talk about that.
And we realize this is master plan,
Yes.
so,
But, and I, audience, because
Yes.
they're not at every meeting like we are.
Right.
So I just want them to understand that this is a process and we're giving you information as we get it.
I'm sorry, just before Nicole goes up, just to clarify or maybe expand on the water and sewer issue, you said right at the beginning of the meeting, you were already working or had been in touch with Kent County Water and the Sewer Commission. So, and then just to follow up, I think someone else brought it up. The town's not paying for any of that.
Correct.
That is all being paid for by the developer. So the folks that don't have sewers, that they take up with the town council. And this project, the sewers and water going in is not going to cost the taxpayers of Coventry a dime.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Yes. Well, let's do the drainage flow first and then I'll introduce that.
So a very brief overview of drainage. I can't find, the gentleman right there that asked. We have a long road ahead of us as far as site design, including grading and drainage. This specific property, regardless of what parcel we're on, is regulated by the Department of Environmental Management and also the town. So in doing that, we looked at a couple different things. I was actually just speaking to the neighbors here about the King Street flooding, so I want to make sure we understand that as part of our analysis. But the short term is that we need to basically, wherever water goes today, we need to balance where it goes tomorrow. And what that means is our engineers in our office are going to take a look at, we call them design points. And we essentially figure out where water's going, what happens today, once we overlay the development onto it, what type of runoff are we talking about? And on top of that, we have to actually take a look at what's called water quality. The gentleman in the back referred to Lake Tahoe turning brown. I'm guessing it was from sedimentation years ago, or maybe it was recently. But as part of that, the DEM requires us to take a look at water quality. And there's a bunch of new technology, there's older technology. We'll figure out what works best here. But it basically polishes the stormwater before it enters the wetlands, so that wetland critters and the wetland itself doesn't get sedimentation on it. So we worry about where the water goes today, where it's gonna go tomorrow, as far as peak and volume, and also treating it from a water quality standpoint. So somebody had just pointed out, a lot of this is wetlands. We're gonna take a look at where it goes here. And the same thing for parcel 4. Parcel 4 has a bunch of little pocket wetlands that we're gonna have to study to make sure we don't either inundate or dry them out.
And then on the, and I hope I say your name right, Miss Therian? Terrio. I wrote it two different ways. We can answer your question on the lot issue, so. Nicole.
If we could go to PDF sheet 3. So this in front of us here is actually a high level survey. It's stamped by our professional land surveyors, hot off the press. It was part of our submission. And correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe the area they're referring to is up here off of King Street. So.
would you mind holding that mic,
Sure.
please? Thank you.
Hope I don't, try not to breathe into it. So this area here is the area in question. So it looks like back in 2005, there was probably a land swap that occurred or a lot line increase. Okay.
So we got 50 feet back where I can see the 50 feet
Mhm.
there, and then you can see the line where the property is there, and then what we will determine that landscape buffer goes right to.
So the blue is actually what we're honoring as our external property line. So anything down or inside of the blue is our property line. So it's no different than here or down here. So maybe it's the graphics that are a little bit deceiving.
That's a zoning line.
Mhm.
Says in the
Yep.
map that that's the landscape
Mhm.
buffer.
No.
That's what is on the map.
So if
No,
we,
that-
so I just wanted to point this bump.
The zoning line.
BP versus residential.
So is this what you're asking? So, okay.
So the map I printed today and the map I went to see. if
Did
it's
she need to
helpful
come up?
here.
Could you, excuse me,
I
you're gonna have to come up and state your name.
Can I just finish what I was gonna, just
Campfield
so it
gave
might
me the
help?
property, didn't change the zone.
So this is the actual survey map here. And if we go to, I believe it's sheet 6 or 7 that shows our development, you'll see that we're honoring that. We're not proposing anything in that area. I just wanted to show that this is the raw survey. And then if we go to the development plan, you'll see that we bump out our development around it. So whether it's a zone line or property line, and I'm unclear of the question, I guess, but we see how all of our development bumps down. Oops, touched the map. We're not proposing anything. All of our development basically bumps down to honor that. So there's no landscaping proposed. There's no houses proposed. If it's on a plan somewhere, we'll update it, but we're not proposing to do anything in that swap.
So to be clear, when you accepted that land from Mr. Cambio, they didn't change the zoning. So that little sliver is still zone BP Business Park, even though you own it.
Can you come on up,
Thank you.
please? There's a stenographer, name and address.
Anne Marie Terrio, 31 King. Anne Marie Terrio, 31 King. So I understand that now because you're saying it, but right on that line on the map, it says landscape buffer. So that's why. we
We'll
were
correct
concerned.
that if we need to.
Okay, yeah, that's all I want.
Yeah, that's fine.
Thank you very much.
So with that, I think we've addressed all of the points, as best we can for tonight.
Someone did ask if the study area for the stormwater was going to include, and I'm sorry, I don't remember the name of the pond, Ratam?
Pond.
Yes,
I don't know.
I don't know where it is, but if not, we could just make a note of it.
So answering that really quickly, I believe it's this pond here. Is that correct? Okay. So as part of our watershed analysis, we do take a look at what comes onto our site off-site and where water goes off of our site. So we take a look at what comes in and what comes out. And I'll take a note to make sure that we do take a look at that. I don't know the topography off the top of my head. You probably do. But we'll take a look at what happens and if we contribute or it contributes to us, we'll take a look at it.
You're gonna have to come up, sir. Sir, you'll have to come up. Yep. Name and address again, please. Yeah, where, it doesn't matter.
Kenneth Smith, 20 Jade Road. Now, yeah, this is Rope Walk Pond, and there's a feeder stream that comes just by Myra and comes out of this property and feeds directly into Rope Walk Pond.
And they'll be doing that, as she stated, through their analysis. I didn't know that pond. I've been in Coventry most of my whole life.
I fish it a lot. Nice little pond. Good fishing.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And just one more thing, Mr. Chairman,
go ahead.
and I think someone brought it up that lived in one of the abutting neighborhoods. And I know we talked about access when the project's built out, but he talked about during construction. Would construction vehicles be using that, or would they be restricted to the access that boulevard?
I think we should answer that next time.
Okay.
Okay.
Again, I don't want to misrepresent.
No problem.
Right, and all the people that had comments, it's all taken into consideration.
Yes.
So
Oh, yeah. I'm
it's
writing-
not like we're gonna
writing
forget it.
everything
We're
down.
gonna be back here next month, so.
Mhm. Yep.
Go ahead, Mr. Smith.
Kelly, more for Nicole, when she looks at this, because it was mentioned on King Street. I have some experience over there with flooding. So that water on King Street, when it has flooded in the past, that water comes out of the property in center of New England and goes from King Street under a culvert on King Street, runs behind the houses on Johnson Boulevard, kind of gets goofed up back there in that little wet area where Kent County Water's pump station is. Then it goes under Johnson's Boulevard with a couple of concrete culverts that have had some work on them in the past 20 years to try to improve them, but if you get enough rain, it does go over Johnson's Boulevard, and shuts that road down. And that goes to the, little lake on the other side that's at West Lake Drive. And that'll top over and go through that yard, and it gets to York Drive, and that culvert pipe is kind of small for the flow that has increased over the past 25 years. And eventually runs into Little Tioga Lake, which is on the west side of Arnold Road. And then it has to go through the concrete pipes that go into Arnold Road out to Tioga Lake. In 2010, the fire department had to pump water from the little side to the big side just because it couldn't keep up with the flow. So that's a pretty sensitive area for flooding and the water that goes in there. And like the gentleman said, on the Rope Walk Pond side, that Mr. Knockowitz can remember 25 to 30 years ago, there was a wood dam there that failed. And then that went down into Tioga Lake and across Arnold Road. And the town built a dam with a control gate there probably 20 years ago to help control that on Rope Walk Pond. So those are pretty sensitive, and they do, if you check with the town Public Works Department, there's some history of those areas flooding and actually having the road shut down.
That it, Mr. Smith?
That's it.
Thank you. Anybody else? And you've addressed.
I think we've addressed everything for this evening. We would ask for continuance to the next
Yes,
meeting.
I'm gonna
Thank you.
put that in a motion. Doug, you got anything to say?
The only last piece before we do continue this
I got
matter.
One more hand up, but I want to listen. I want
Oh,
to have
sure.
our planner. One minute. I gotta have our planner speak. Yeah, you're 10 seconds after him. Go ahead, Doug.
I don't mind if Jerry wants to give his 10 seconds.
All right.
So special.
You're welcome, Jerry.
Jerry Narkowitz, 21 Beach Street, Coventry, Rhode Island. Will it be open at the very beginning of the meeting, or will it be after all the presentations?
They're gonna do their presentation first. We're gonna digest it, and then I will continue public hearing.
I understand. Didn't sound that way.
Yes.
Thank you.
Sorry, thank you. Go ahead, Doug.
I just want to make sure it's clear for the commission members as well as any of the interested public members. We do continue to plan to use the town's website to update the documents. The link that exists today, which you can find by going to the planning department page, by going to the planning commission link, and then you'll see there's a link for every individual meeting. The link that exists today will remain. So anyone that wants to follow up and review any of the materials, there will be a new link as we get closer to the next meeting. The next meeting will be September 25th. And I'd say a few days in advance of September 25th, I encourage everyone to review the materials on the website. That's where you're going to find any updated materials about the traffic study, about a peer review analysis, about any staff reports, any other information that the applicant provides. That's a great resource. So that can answer a lot of your questions as you come, anybody that wants to be prepared as they come into the meeting. Those are all public documents. And I do encourage, if you have detailed comments you'd like to provide, you can email me any comments. That's actually an effective way, because any email that makes it to me will eventually make it to the Planning Commission. I just asked to email me perhaps at least a week before the meeting, maybe at least 5 days before the meeting. We can give all those materials. They can digest those detailed comments. As you can imagine, it can be hard for them to digest details on the spot in a live setting. So you're always welcome to provide your oral comments at a meeting, but written is also helpful. So those are my only two comments as we prior to you making a motion.
Thank you. Okay, I think we're ready to make a motion. If I can entertain a motion to continue this meeting and the public hearing to September 25th, 2024.
Make a motion that we continue this public hearing and continue this meeting till the next scheduled meeting,
September 25th.
September 25th.
I have a motion, I have a second.
I have discussion.
Can we wait for the second first?
Oh, yeah, I'm sorry.
Second.
I thought you
Second
said
by
you
Mr.
had a
Kenny.
second.
Any discussion?
I just wanted to clarify, did you need waivers tonight? Okay. Nope, I thought you needed checklist items taken care of
But
tonight.
I just wanted to be clear that there's two kinds of waivers. One is from the checklist, one is for the project.
Right, so you can wait on the
Yep,
checklist ones till
we
next time too?
can.
Okay, thank you.
And I'll just note, because that question came up, staff have no problems with the checklist items. We do agree. The level of information that they're asking for waivers is appropriate to receive at the
Still
next
preliminary.
stage. And by the way, keep in mind, everybody, this is one stage of review. It's a conceptual stage. Further engineering details are provided at the next stage of review. That wouldn't be next meeting. That would be a future stage of review, months away. So a lot of the information that they're going to give us will come. It will just come later.
Any other discussion? I have a motion. I hear a second. All those in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. Thank you. Thank you, everybody. Give him a minute to.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Clear out?
I guess your solicitor's leaving.
Gotta bang it down.
My friend.
Yeah, I mean, I didn't understand.
He's a finance guy. I think he's trying to get the gist of this. Know what happens? Get his friggin' money. Are you at the beginning of the video? He wants to-
Thank you. Hope to see you next month.
Who knows? He worked not too bad. But I'll tell you. Still out of my phone. But after the meeting, because it's a lot. Look at all my notes. Luckily,
Okay, if you could take it outside, we're gonna continue our meeting. If you could take it outside. Thank you. Take care now.
I make a motion to adjourn. Just skip over everything.
Doug, you don't have anything in the director's report?
Nothing to report at this time.
Okay. Since the room cleared, is there anybody on Zoom that would like to make a comment tonight? Okay, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn. Motion by Mr. Reagan, second by Mr. Cludian. All those in favor? Aye. All right, motion adjourned.
All right, Ron.